Hello everyone and welcome to this midweek edition of the TII podcast. This is a special Red Star Belgrade Europa League last 16 preview edition. We did ask for a Red Star Belgrade fan to join us, but they've all refused because they're too scared to give away their secrets. So I've been joined by two of our regular podders, actually one who's making his debut. First off, you all recognise Dave Cornish. Dave, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Greg. Yourself?
Yes, all good, thank you. And a warm welcome to Crawford Hume, who's joining us for his very first podcast. How are you doing, Crawford?
Very well, thanks. Glad to be here and give my views, so we'll see how it goes.
Excellent. So we'll just jump straight into it. We're heading into what I guess is viewed by most Rangers fans as a winnable tie, but probably 50-50. When the draw was made, we'd obviously just knocked out Borussia Dortmund. We were all on a high. Dave, I'm going to come to you first. When the draw was made, what was your initial reaction when you heard we were going to be playing Red Star Belgrade?
I'd probably say reasonably happy. I think I'd kind of looked at the draw and I'd sort of divvied it into, there was some top teams that you obviously either glamouritised, but in reality you want to avoid them. You had your kind of middle teams that would have been a challenge, and then I think I had Red Star in the sort of group that would have been more 50-50. I'm not sitting here saying we're going to tan them, but for the same token, it is certainly a winnable tie if we're on form and if we're playing well. So yeah, I was quite happy with it when I heard.
Crawford, would you agree with Dave's assessment there? Do you think it was when the balls came out the hat as such? Do you think it was a good draw for us?
I would agree with Dave. I don't think it's a great draw or a bad draw. I think once you research them, you've seen that they finished top of their group. It's not going to be an easy tie. It's going to be a hard tie for Rangers. And these kind of games, I always think Rangers are tougher than when you play big teams because nobody expected us to do anything against Borussia. And when we went away and won 4-2, I was expecting a 3-0 defeat. So Rangers always seem to kind of raise a game in the big glamour ties. So this one, I think it's going to be harder because there's maybe an expectation on us to go through. I think it's all going to come down to the first leg at Ibrox if we can at least take a 2-goal lead, I think, over there because it's going to be quite hostile. I think we'll have a good chance. So it's not going to be easy, and it's certainly not the hardest tie. So it's 50-50.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you there. I think we like to play against teams like Borussia Dortmund because we can sit back and then hit them on the counter-attack. I think when you're going into a game, and I think it's partly how we came across it against Slavia Prague previously as well, was that it's a team that kind of plays in a similar way to we play. So you're kind of sitting back, but the other team are sitting back as well. So then eventually one team has to take on the impetus and start to attack. And I think Slavia Prague just kind of picked us off in the home leg at Ibrox when we tried to do that. I think it's just to go through some quick fire stats on Red Star. So currently sitting second in the Serbian Superliga, 2 points behind Partizan Belgrade. They've won their last 3 games without conceding a goal. So they've won 2-0, 3-0 and 5-0. As you mentioned, Crawford, in their Europa League group, they finished top, which when the draw was made, I was a bit concerned about because there's obviously some good quality teams, as we've seen in Europa League group stage. I think when I looked at their group and I saw it was Braga, Midfield and Ludogorets in the group, it made me feel a wee bit better about it because I feel I would have been fairly confident Rangers would have topped that group as well. Dave, would you agree with that assessment, that having looked at their group of Braga, Midfield and Ludogorets, that perhaps it was one of the more favourable draws in the group stage?
Yeah, 100%, mate. As you said, I think it's hard to say with the form we were in at the time, but, potentially you would have been looking for Rangers to top that group. The other interesting thing that I noticed is they may well have finished top, but their form was actually pretty patchy throughout the group stages. It wasn't Lyon levels where they romped all the games until the last one type thing. It was, there was a few draws and lost in there. So Yeah, I think that's fair to say, to be honest, Greg.
Yeah, it was 3 wins, two draws and a defeat for Red Star Belgrade that led to them topping the group. Interestingly, looking at the UEFA website, and across those 6 games, they averaged 44.8% possession, which is interesting for a team that goes on to top the group, and suggests actually they, like as we say, like to sit back and defend and then try and hit on the counter attack. They are, just to round off the stats, 2 clean sheets in those 6 games, 20 yellow cards and 2 red cards. Crawford, after hearing those stats, does it fill you with a bit more confidence, or are you kind of still it's a 50-50 and we need to see how we get on in the night?
No, it's definitely a 50-50 because I think it's going to be, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be an expert on Red Star, but I think it's going to be a lot like the game against Legia Warsaw, when we drew, I think not in each name, it was 1-0 at Ibrox, when Morelos getting the header. I think it's going to be like that. I think they're going to sit in, frustrate us, and I just hope we at least get a goal and don't concede any to go over there, because I think it's going to be really tight. They do seem to score goals in the league. I think the last game they won 5-0. But when you look at that league, I only know the top 2 teams. The rest of them I've never really heard of, so I don't know the standard, but it's probably comparable to the Scottish League. So I think it's going to be really tight. But as I said, I think the game at Ibrox is massive. I think if we can get behind the team and try and get 2 goals and go over there, I'm fully confident in the team to suck it up and take the pressure. And especially if Ryan Jack's playing, I think we can get a result out there. But it's going to be tight, 50-50 definitely.
Absolutely, Dave. It appears, and I think this is the last of my exhaustive Red Star Belgrade knowledge, but it appears that they have a bit of a talisman in their striker Alexander Kitai. 31 goals and 44 appearances for them. I guess it's easy enough, and it may be a bit basic to say that to stop Red Star playing, that he needs to be a real target for us.
Yeah, I think we do need to shut him down. When I was having a look at them earlier, because again, like yourselves, I'm no Red Star expert, but I think they have got a couple of midfielders that can pitch in with goals as well, from what I saw. But yeah, I would agree. Obviously, we need to shut him down. And just follow up on sort of what Crawford was saying there about taking a 2-goal lead. I think part of that's going to be vital is back to what you were saying about how almost 2 teams playing the same style. So if we have that lead, they're going to have to open up, and that's when I think we can really inflict the damage. I actually think the first goal in this tie could be really, really, really important. And I know that it's always important, but I think even more so in this, because it'll dictate the playing style of the teams a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. Crawford, one of the talking points, I guess, after I think it's safe to say, patchy league form, has been how important is the Europa League to Rangers, and where does it sit on the sort of priority list? For you, is it important that we continue to go as far as we can in Europe, or should the league be the priority?
Well, league's a priority, definitely, just because of the pot of gold that's at the end of it. But I'm not one of these people that signs up to saying, if you get knocked out, then it's fine, you can concentrate. I think being in Europe is where the club wants to be. It's a stature thing. We've done great to get ourselves back up there, and beating Borussia Dortmund. That's a result that put Rangers on the map again in Europe. So, and then there's the money as well. That game against Borussia Dortmund, I actually said to my dad that 3rd goal cost Rangers money, the one that got chopped off. So, all the games, if you get a result in the 2 games, it's more money. And God forbid if we don't win the league, then going as far as we can in Europa League, it'll kind of get money in the coffers that we might miss out on at the end of the season. So it's important. It is definitely important, but you've got to win the league, definitely, and hopefully we do that.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I think it's I always find it a bit strange when people at this stage of the season are just saying, just knock us out the Europa League and we'll go for the league. I find that a bit of a strange mentality. I don't know if it's just growing up as a Rangers fan and expecting to win every single game, but Dave, I see you shaking your head at the idea of accepting us being knocked out of the Europa League there. I guess you would agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you gave me a direct choice and said you can either win the league or, you can carry on to whatever stage but not win the Europa League, then yeah, 100% I'm going to pick the league. But I don't think you can ever sit there and just, knock me out. I think, if I'm being truthful, that is something that tends to be deployed once teams have been knocked out, if that makes sense in a lot of cases. It's we didn't really want to be in that anyway. This is our focus. Of course, you want to be in it. You're one of the top teams in the country, one of two. As you said, you've just got that prestige of beating Dortmund and putting yourself back on the map. You're trying to climb up the coefficient. You're trying to keep the coefficient high for Scotland as a whole. I think it's a nonsense for someone to say they weren't knocked out the Europa League, to be honest. I just don't get it. And that's before you come to Crawford's very, very valid point that, winning this next two-legged tie will probably make us just as much, if not more, as winning the Scottish League would. Obviously not the follow-on with the Champions League, but the actual league itself will probably take more in these two games if we win them.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I suppose it's a convenient excuse when you drop into the Conference League, isn't it? So just as we say, we obviously we want to go through from this tie against Red Star Belgrade. First leg's at home, which I think when the away goals rule was still in place, that was a bit of a negative if you were playing your first leg at home. Now this season, obviously the away goals rule is no more, which I'm not a huge fan of, if I'm being honest, but I can understand why UEFA have done it, and it kind of favours the bigger clubs, I guess. Crawford, coming to you, what result do you think we need to get on Thursday night in the first leg at Ibrox to see us going over to what is as you've mentioned, a very intimidating atmosphere in Belgrade? What result do you think we need to have to go over there and to give us a bit of a boost and a bit of confidence going into the second leg and our potential of going through?
Well, if I'm being honest, I think we need to get at least a 2-goal lead going over there. But I've seen Rangers. I mean, the Braga game, 3-2 at home. You think, we've got to go over there now, and they've done really well, and then we go over there and win 1-0. Sometimes you can never tell with Rangers. Since I've been watching Rangers, they do things when I expect them not to do it. So you go away to Dortmund, you win 4-2. There's no chance that would ever have happened. You feel expecting them to get beat 3-0 and they go and do that. They go over to Braga, they win 1-0. There is something in this Rangers team that can pull out a result. So even if we don't get a 2-goal lead, I would never give up on them. I think they can go over there and get a result, but it's a tough place to go. By all accounts, they do really well at home. As it's hostile. So, but then is it any more hostile than Ibrox and an Old Firm or Ibrox on a European night? So the players are used to that. So I think a 2-goal lead at least would be great, and I'd be confident with them going through. But if we don't get it, there's still a good chance we could do it.
Absolutely.
Just with what you were saying there, actually, Crawford, about the Dortmund game, I was on the preview for the first leg of that, and there was 3 of us. Every single one of us predicted a loss. We were literally sat there thinking, how can we limit the loss to give ourselves a chance when we get back to Ibrox? So, yeah, I don't think anyone saw that coming.
Dave, we've heard about how impressive the atmosphere is at Ibrox and how much that can spur us on as a team. I think this season going across to Belgrade will be the first time we kind of experience that kind of atmosphere as a team. How confident are you heading over there that if we need a result or if we need a win that we can pull out the bag?
So I suppose I don't think they'll have a problem playing in front of tense fans. As Crawford's already touched upon, they've done it in Old Firms, done it in plenty of other Europa games. I still think the biggest decider is going to be the patterns of play. So if we take a win over there, they're going to have to come at us. That'll suit us. We can go at them. You get a goal, their crowd are instantly going to drop a bit, you know. So it almost negates that. But if we're going over there, we're behind, we're chasing it, their fans are going to be cheering on every single touch they have, basically. That could be a bit harder because we're the ones that've got to find a way through, and we've got the hostile environment. So I think it's important, but I don't think it'll be the decider in this game.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair comment. What I'm going to do is we're recording on the Tuesday night. I believe this will go live on the Wednesday morning ahead of the Thursday night game. But earlier on today, former Rangers player Dragan Mladenovic, who some people seem to remember and some people don't. I think he had a bit of an ill-fated time at Rangers under Alex McLeish. But he was speaking to the Scottish Sun earlier today. He's currently Academy Director at Red Star Belgrade. And he had some interesting comments to make about Rangers and the upcoming tie. So his comments were as follows. So he said, I watched the Rangers Dortmund game and they outscored the German millionaires. Rangers deservedly won convincingly and the Scots are now a little arrogant. They are thinking in the sense that when we can beat Borussia, the second best club in Germany, we will also beat Red Star. They are full of self-confidence, but that arrogance can hit them on the head. Red Star has a good chance to progress, but we must not be deceived that Rangers is an easy opponent. They were possibly among the most desirable teams in the draw, but they have grown and are playing consistently well. They eliminated Dortmund in the previous phase, which speaks volumes about their strength. They are fast, that's perhaps their greatest football quality, but I also watched Celtic beat them 3-0 easily recently. They didn't let Rangers catch their breath from the start. Red Star's team has a lot of experience. The backbone has been together for 5 years. We can play against almost everyone in Europe. The chances are 50-50. Now, Crawford, I'm going to come to you first and just get your thoughts on I guess the first controversial statement. They kind of took with one hand and gave with the other hand a few times in that statement. But the first kind of the one that catches the eye is they said that Rangers and the Scottish fans are a little arrogant. What's your kind of reaction to that comment?
See, honestly, I don't know who these guys get stuff like this. That is just his own opinion, his own view, because I've not read one thing coming out of Ibrox that would back that up. I've not seen any players, I've not seen the manager coming out saying anything like what he's just spouted there. So I think he needs to stop sniffing glue. That's absolute nonsense. Anyway, I mean, even the things he's saying that with you beat Dortmund, right? Brilliant. But I don't think any Rangers fan went in that game thinking we would beat Dortmund. So we played well over 2 legs. We got through. It doesn't mean that we're world beaters and we're going to beat everyone. I don't think anyone in the club is thinking that. And then you say that, we watched us playing against Celtic. I mean, of course, first half, awful. But I think if you look at that game, in my opinion, that game is, if you look at the second half, Rangers got a grip of it. In my opinion, if we got a goal back early in that second half, we could have got ourselves back into it. We never. But to take that game as a whole, it's a bad night for Rangers, but that is not Rangers. So if that's how he thinks we're going to turn up, then great, because maybe we might surprise him. But he's obviously had a bad time at Rangers, and he's got a grudge.
Dave, come to you just with your thoughts on the statement that we're currently a little arrogant.
Yeah, I think Crawford's pretty much sort of summed up the main points, to be honest, mate. Again, I'll just reiterate, I don't know a single Rangers fan that thinks just because we happen to beat Dortmund that we're going to go on and win the Europa League, which in essence is, what he's getting at. Yeah, it was a cracking result. Interesting as well that he'd made that comment about how Rangers were one of the most desirable teams. That's just a carbon copy of how we've seen the Red Star draw, in my experience. We're not saying we're going to smash them. We're just saying, actually, looking at some of the teams that were in that pot that we could have come up against, Red Star is a better option than some of those. Beyond that, I mean, I know on the last pod, tongue-in-cheek, I said, we'll just win the Europa instead of the league. But no, I've not heard any real Rangers fans seriously claiming that just because we've beaten Dortmund, we're going to win it. As far as the Celtic game goes, yeah, okay, terrible night at the office. as Crawford says, second half we picked up a bit, but there's 1 or 2 losses this season. You know, you can always find a bad result. Every team's had a bad result somewhere along the line that you can point to and say, oh, that's shocking. But the fact of the matter is that's not representative of our season. So, to be honest, I think the guy's just trying to get some airtime, potentially a grudge, as Crawford suggested. But I think it's just about the airtime, to be honest, because most of what he said is absolute garbage.
I think as well that we forget sometimes that English isn't some people's first language, and sometimes when they're doing an interview, it can sometimes be taken out of context, and because you sometimes see translations of what Italian footballers say into English, and you're like you would never say it that way in English as such. So
did that not happen to Morelos as well at one point with the Sky interview?
I'm sure it's happened many, many times to Alfredo Morelos for reasons unknown. But I think taking it at face value, he's backing up the team that he currently works for. He's trying to give them a bit of a boost, and as much as I disagree with what he says, it's kind of no skin off our nose, I guess. Well, maybe it is because we're talking about it on this podcast, but in reality, it's no skin off our nose. Looking ahead to, Dave, I'll just stick with you. Looking ahead to Thursday night and the sort of starting lineup that we're going to look at coming out the tunnel at 8 o'clock. I think there was also a few changes at the weekend when we played against Aberdeen, to the team that we've seen kind of Gio had stuck with the same team for 3 or 4 games in a row. He made some changes, including Fashion Sakala coming into the starting lineup at the weekend. I think he must have hit about 16 of our 20 off-target shots. But how do you see the starting lineup shaping up on Thursday night?
I think we're probably going to go back to something similar to the Dortmund style. Potentially Bassi out on the left and Balogun in the centre if he's fit enough for it. I'm not convinced. Yes, Sakala did a lot of running and a lot of shooting, but he never really grabbed the opportunity. And I think I can see Gio sort of sticking with what he knows in this one. I think there's all sorts of debates to be had about the team. You know, they let's be honest, they probably start from the keeper right up to the front line, but I just can't see him making major changes in what is such a crucial game.
Yeah, Crawford, I'm going to come to you just and ask about the midfield specifically and how that is potentially going to line up. I think obviously you've got Lundstrom, who's been playing well in recent weeks. You've got Ryan Jack, who's come back to fitness again after another slight knock. You've got Glenn Kamara potentially in there. You've got Joe Aribo and Scott Arfield that can also play in there, but could also play kind of on the right-hand side of a front three. That sort of midfield three on Thursday night, how do you see that coming together?
I've actually wrote down the team, so I would pick no sending it to Gio or anything, but I would go with the 3 that you mentioned in midfield. So Kamara, Jack and Lundstrom, either Jack or Kamara sitting, because I think it's important that we try and not concede. I know the away goals isn't a thing now, but I think going over there without, you might be trying to get a goal or two and not concede gives us a real strong chance. So I'd play one of the 2 sitting and Lundstrom pushing on, because I think Lundstrom's got a great shot on him, and see if we get him at the edge of the box. He's probably the best out of all our midfielders at a long range shot, and we don't do enough of it. And when he does do it, you've seen it Dortmund, Hearts, more often than not it hits the target. So I'd play all 3, and I'd push Aribo out to the right, because since he's come back, it's just not happening for the guy in that role, sitting just behind Morelos. So push him out to the right, take the pressure off him a wee bit. If he gets on the ball, like try and cut in, because he's great coming in for the right on his left foot and maybe curling one in. And then Morelos and Kent, obviously. I agree with Dave. I'd have Balogun in there and Hollander. I like Bassi, and he has done well at centre half, but I think Balogun I think Goldson plays better when he's got Balogun or Hollander beside him. See when it's Bassey or Lundstrom in that game that he put him in there against Motherwell. I think sometimes Goldson, his concentration goes. So I'd have Balogun or Hollander in there. But the midfield, I mean, we've got so many midfielders. But they three, I think, putting them in and push Aribo out, I think that gives us the best chance.
Yeah, Dave, I think, and Crawford, I'd agree with you in terms of the back line and Balogun or Hollander coming in, probably most likely to be Balogun at this stage from a fitness perspective. But I think Calvin Bassey offers us so much on that left-hand side. And he when you compare the game at the weekend, what Barisic offered in the first half compared to what Bassey offered in the second half, it's just night and day. It's actually quite amazing how much of a difference there has become over the past 6 months or so. And I think I potentially slightly disagree on the midfield. As much as I agree that Lundstrom is probably the only one out of the midfield that can actually shoot. I don't think. I realise I've not been John Lundstrom's greatest fan all through this season, but I've come onto his side a little bit in the last 3 or 4 games. But I think playing Lundstrom, Jack, and Kamara is just the world just getting each other's way. If I'm being honest, I think you've got to drop Arfield into that midfield, and I would probably, if I'm being honest, drop Kamara out of that and play the same midfield that we did against Dortmund. And I'd agree with you shifting Joe Aribo out to the right hand side. I think he just offers us something a bit different creatively. Sakawa's good at just getting his head down and running. Potentially not the most tactically astute player that we have in the team. And as much as I'd like to see Kamara come into the team and play as part of that front three, I don't think Thursday night is the right game for that. Dave, how would you assess the team?
Yeah, so again, I'd echo all the comments, really. I don't think Hollander's registered, is he? So he definitely won't be in, but hopefully Balogun's fit, because, like you say, Bassey is just a totally different option to Barisic at the minute. It's a shame. I've always been a big fan of Barisic, but if we're being honest, the form just isn't there at the minute. And, you've got to go with form, haven't you? Midfield, I like Lundstrom and Jack together. I think that's the most effective sort of two, if you will, out of the two that sit back slightly more. I don't see the same dynamicism, if that's even a word, with Kamara and either of those two. And that's strange to say, because 6 months, a year ago, Kamara would have been the first name on the team sheet, but I just don't see the same mix. I agree, probably drop Arfield in there. I think he's rested, so he'll be fit and raring to go. And again, he gives us that link between they two and the front line. And then, the front three, I mean, Kent and Morelos just about pick themselves. Absolutely Aribo out on the right for me. Even if you want to do it as a 2-3, then you play Jack and Lundstrom with Arfield in the middle and Aribo on the right rather than Arfield on the right, I would say. So, I think we're all pretty aligned team-wise. Or maybe that midfield.
Yeah, Dave, I'm just going to stick with you as we sort of round off this preview of the first leg of the last 16 Europa League tie. What's your score prediction for Thursday night?
On the spot, why don't you? I'm going to go for a 1-0, actually. I do think it'll be tight. Maybe it's just show Dragon I'm not arrogant about it all, but no, I think it'll be a fairly tight game. We've sort of talked about how both sides have a similar style of play. So, against Borussia, we could let them come at us and then blast forward. I don't think we're going to have that same openness in this one, so I think it'll be tight, and I'm going to go 1-0.
Crawford, same question to you. How do you see the scoreline finishing up on Thursday night?
Yeah, I agree with Dave. 1-0. Either 1-0 or 2-1, because I've not got that much confidence in keeping a clean sheet now, but we've done well the past 2 games to do it, so no, but I think it'll be tight, either 1-0 or 2-1.
Excellent. I'm going to just go for the 2-0 to be a bit different, but like you both say, I think it's going to be a tight game, but it should be a great atmosphere at Ibrox once again for the game. So that's it for us tonight on this TII Europa League preview edition podcast. We are looking forward to a big night on Thursday as Rangers take on Red Star Belgrade, and hopefully we'll be heading into the second leg with at least a 1-goal advantage, if not 2. Until next time, good night.